Welcome back to the channel. Most people would walk past it without a second look, flick it into a jar, drop it in a shop tray, or spend it without hesitation. But hidden inside the ordinary brown color and familiar design of the 1971 1-cent USA coin is a story so shocking that it rewrites everything we think we know about pocket change, because this single penny, a coin with a face value of just 1 cent, has been linked to valuations reaching an unbelievable $34 million, making it one of the most mysterious and talked about coins in American numismatic history. And the reason this story matters so much is because millions of these coins were produced, meaning the next life-changing discovery could be sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer, wallet, or childhood coin jar right now, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it. The year 1971 was a turning point for U.S. coinage, a time when the mint was under pressure to produce massive quantities of coins quickly to meet rising demand, and the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, was working at relentless speed. And when speed meets metal, mistakes happen, sometimes tiny, sometimes dramatic, and sometimes so rare that they create legends. And the 1971 penny sits right at the center of this perfect storm of rush production, experimental metals, worn dies, and human oversight. Officially, the 1971 penny was supposed to be struck on a copper alloy planchet, about 95% copper, with a small amount of zinc, the same general composition Americans had known for decades. Yet during this period the U.S. Mint was quietly experimenting, testing materials, adjusting processes, and handling leftover planchets from other years and denominations. And this is where the door to a $34 million mystery cracks open. Collectors began noticing that a tiny number of 1971 pennies behaved differently, weighing wrong, sounding wrong when dropped, reacting strangely to magnets, and showing surfaces that didn't match standard copper cents. And at first these coins were dismissed as damaged, altered, or fake, but as more examples surfaced and expert examinations were conducted, a chilling possibility emerged that at least one genuine 1971 cent may have been struck on the wrong metal planchet, or with a combination of errors so extreme that it placed the coin in a class of its own. History has already shown that wrong metal cents can become some of the most valuable coins on earth, such as the famous 1943 copper penny or the 1944 steel cent, both created by minting chaos during wartime. And while 1971 wasn't a war year, it was still a period of transition and experimentation, and that makes the idea of a wrong planchet 1971 cent not only possible but explosively valuable. Imagine a penny struck on a leftover silver-colored planchet, or an experimental alloy never meant for circulation, slipping through quality control and entering the public unnoticed, where it remained hidden for decades until the numismatic world slowly began to connect the dots. But metal composition alone isn't the only factor driving this coin's legendary value, because die errors from that year have also been documented that defy normal expectations, including extreme double strikes where the design appears shifted and layered, off-center strikes so dramatic that Lincoln's portrait nearly disappears, and die clashes that imprint ghostly shapes onto the coin's surface, creating visuals that look almost supernatural. And when multiple errors occur on a single coin, the value doesn't just add up, it multiplies, especially when the errors are sharp, original, and authenticated. The most talked about 1971 penny among elite collectors is rumored to combine several of these anomalies at once, including an incorrect planchet, abnormal weight, and a misaligned die strike, forming a once-in-a-generation specimen that simply should not exist. And it's this rumored coin that has been linked in private collector circles to valuations approaching $34 million, not because a price tag was casually assigned, but because when something is unique, historically important, and impossible to reproduce, the price becomes whatever the richest, most determined collector is willing to pay. Auction history proves this pattern again and again, with rare coins smashing estimates, shocking the world, and rewriting record books overnight, and the idea that a humble 1971 penny could join that elite club is what makes this story so powerful. Another layer of intrigue comes from transitional errors, where coins are struck using outdated or experimental dies or planchets during periods of change. And while the major copper to zinc shift officially came later in 1982, the early 1970s were filled with testing and preparation. And any confirmed evidence of transitional materials appearing earlier than expected would send shockwaves through the numismatic community, instantly elevating the coin from rare to legendary. Collectors who specialize in error coins know that the most valuable discoveries often begin as accidents, dismissed curiosities that later turn out to be history-altering artifacts. And that's exactly why the 1971 penny refuses to fade into obscurity. Because every few years another strange example surfaces, reigniting debate, speculation, and intense examination. Condition also plays a brutal role in value. Because a dramatic error on a heavily worn coin is fascinating, but the same error on a near-perfect, mint-state specimen is explosive, and reports suggest that the most valuable 1971 penny examples show unusually sharp detail, clean surfaces, and minimal wear, implying they were set aside early, perhaps by someone who sensed they were different even if they didn't fully understand why. The psychology behind coin collecting adds fuel to the fire, because collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying stories, mysteries, and the thrill of owning something no one else can, and a coin surrounded by unanswered questions, rumored experiments, and potential mint blunders becomes irresistible to those at the top of the market. Skeptics argue that $34 million sounds impossible for a penny dated 1971. Yet history has already proven that impossibility means nothing in the face of true rarity, as coins once thought absurdly priced are now regarded as bargains in hindsight, and the fact that even the possibility of such a valuation exists keeps people checking, weighing, and scrutinizing every 1971 cent they come across. This is why experts urge collectors and everyday people alike to look closely, because the difference between a normal penny and a life-changing one can be invisible to the untrained eye, hidden in weight measurements, metal composition, or microscopic details only revealed under magnification. The legend of the 1971 penny isn't just about money, it's about awareness, about understanding that history doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, disguised as something ordinary, waiting decades to be recognized. Somewhere, in a box, a drawer, or an inherited collection, a single copper-colored coin could be carrying a story worth millions, and the only thing separating that fortune from anonymity is knowledge and curiosity. So the next time you see a 1971 1-cent coin, don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's common, because history has shown again and again that the most valuable treasures often were the most ordinary faces. And if this story made you look at your change differently, and you don't want to miss more hidden money mysteries like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next coin we reveal could be sitting in your pocket right now. Next, 1973 1-cent USA coin. No one ever imagines that a coin minted during an ordinary year, handled by millions of people, tossed into vending machines, dropped into pockets, and forgotten inside drawers, could secretly carry a value of $33 million, yet the 1973 1-cent USA coin has become one of the most whispered about legends in American coin history. A penny whose face value is just 1 cent but whose potential worth has shaken collectors, experts, and everyday people alike, because this coin sits at the crossroads of minting pressure, human error, experimental processes, and extreme rarity. And once you understand what happened behind the scenes at the Denver Mint in 1973, you realize why this small copper coin refuses to be ordinary. The early 1970s were a chaotic period for U.S. coin production. Inflation was rising, metal prices were unstable, and the U.S. Mint was forced to produce massive quantities of coins at record speed to keep up with circulation demands, and the Denver Mint, marked by the small d beneath the date, was running almost non-stop, a situation where quality control could not always keep pace with output, and history proves that when speed overrides precision, rare mistakes slip through, some so subtle they go unnoticed for decades, others so dramatic they rewrite price records. Officially, the 1973 penny was supposed to be struck on a standard copper alloy planchet, yet during this period the Mint was deeply involved in testing alternative metals and planchet sources in preparation for future changes, handling leftover blanks, experimental alloys, and transitional materials that were never meant to reach the public, and this created a dangerous mix where a single wrong blank could slip into the press, get struck, and enter circulation as an accidental artifact of Mint history. What makes the 1973 penny especially mysterious is that a very small number of specimens have shown physical characteristics that don't match standard cents, including unusual weight variations, abnormal color tones, and metal responses inconsistent with copper, immediately raising red flags among specialists who know that wrong metal errors are among the most valuable mistakes in numismatics. Collectors familiar with legendary coins like the 1943 copper cent or the 1944 steel cent understand that wrong planchet errors are not just rare, they are historically explosive because they prove something went fundamentally wrong inside the Mint, and when such an error is confirmed for a later year like 1973, the shockwaves are even stronger because fewer people expect it. But metal composition alone does not explain the staggering $33 million valuation linked to the most extreme examples of the 1973 penny, because this coin's legend is built on layers of compounding errors, the kind that almost never occur together on a single piece, reports from advanced collectors describe. Examples showing severe off-center strikes where Lincoln's portrait appears pushed to the edge, double or even multiple strikes that create ghost-like outlines of letters and devices, die clashes that leave shadow impressions from the opposite side of the coin, and evidence of worn or misaligned dies that distort the design in ways impossible to fake convincingly, and when these errors stack on top of each other, the result is a coin that looks wrong even to an untrained eye, yet remains authentic under microscopic and metallurgical testing. The most talked about 1973 penny in elite circles is rumored to combine an incorrect or experimental planchet with extreme striking anomalies, creating a coin so unique that it effectively stands alone. And in the world of high-end collecting, uniqueness is everything, because when only one confirmed example exists, the value is no longer tied to guides or averages. It becomes whatever the wealthiest collector is willing to pay to own. History, private sales, sealed deals, and behind-the-scenes negotiations often set prices long before the public ever hears about them, and this is why some of the most valuable coins in existence never appear at auction, instead changing hands quietly among those who understand exactly what they are buying. The $33 million figure associated with the 1973 penny is not just a fantasy number. It reflects what happens when extreme rarity, historical importance, condition, and mystery collide, because collectors at the highest level are not just buying a coin, they are buying a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that can never be recreated. Condition plays a ruthless role in this story, because a dramatic error on a heavily circulated penny is interesting, but the same error on a near-perfect, mint-state example is transformative. An account suggests that the most valuable 1973 penny shows surprisingly sharp details, clean surfaces, and minimal wear, implying they were either discovered early or set aside by someone who sensed something was different long before the coin world caught up. Another factor fueling this coin's legendary status is the uncertainty surrounding exactly how many such errors may exist, because while millions of 1973 pennies were struck, only a microscopic fraction show these extreme characteristics. And until every example is found and documented, the possibility remains that another life-changing discovery is still out there, hiding in plain sight. This uncertainty is what drives people to search rolls, inherited collections, and forgotten jars, because history has proven that some of the greatest numismatic discoveries were made by ordinary people who simply paid attention. Skeptics often argue that a penny from 1973 can't possibly be worth $33 million. Yet those same doubts were once aimed at coins that later shattered records and stunned the world, and the lesson of numismatic history is clear. Rarity does not care about age alone, it cares about circumstances, mistakes, and survival. The 1973 penny exists at a moment when the mint was stretched thin, experimenting quietly, and producing coins at incredible speed, a perfect recipe for errors that were never meant to escape, and when even one such escape is confirmed, it becomes a permanent piece of American mint history. The power of this story lies not just in the money, but in the realization that history hides in ordinary places. That something as small as a penny can carry a secret worth millions, and that knowledge is often the only barrier between a forgotten object and a fortune. Somewhere right now, a 1973 1-cent coin could be sitting unnoticed, dismissed as spare change, while carrying the potential to change a life forever, and that possibility alone is enough to make people stop, look closer, and think twice before ignoring the coins they touch every day. If this story made you pause and see your change differently, and you don't want to miss more hidden value coin mysteries like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next ordinary coin we uncover could be hiding an extraordinary fortune. And that's why the story of the 1973 1-cent coin refuses to end here, because every time someone thinks the mystery has been fully explored, another detail surfaces, another strange example appears, or another expert raises a question that reopens the case, and this ongoing uncertainty is exactly what keeps the value conversation alive. Because in numismatics, unresolved mysteries are often more powerful than settled facts, especially when money, rarity, and history collide. As years pass, technology improves, allowing more advanced metal analysis, weight verification, and microscopic inspection, and coins once dismissed as damaged or altered are being re-examined under modern standards, sometimes revealing truths that were impossible to confirm decades ago, and the 1973 penny is perfectly positioned to benefit from this evolution. Because if even one specimen is conclusively proven to have been struck on an experimental or incorrect planchet, or to carry a previously undocumented combination of errors, its status would instantly jump from controversial to legendary. Collectors know that markets react explosively to confirmation, because uncertainty suppresses value while proof unleashes it, and this is why high-level collectors quietly monitor discoveries, waiting for the moment when doubt disappears and history is rewritten in ink instead of pencil. Another factor that keeps pushing the potential value higher is the shrinking number of untouched coins, as millions of pennies from the 1970s have already been melted, damaged, or permanently lost, reducing the pool of possible survivors every single year, which means that if a truly extraordinary 1973 penny exists, the odds of finding another one like it are becoming smaller with time, not larger. This scarcity pressure is something collectors understand deeply, because rarity is not just about how many were made, but how many still exist in a condition worthy of study, authentication, and elite ownership. Stories circulate in collector forums and private conversations about pennies found in old bank rolls, estate collections, or forgotten jars that showed signs of being different but were never fully investigated, fueling the belief that at least one life-changing discovery may still be out there, waiting for someone patient enough to look closely instead of spinning it without thought. The psychology of the hunt plays a huge role here, because humans are wired to chase possibility. And the idea that a single cent could unlock $33 million is powerful enough to keep people searching for years, sometimes for a lifetime. What makes the 1973 penny even more fascinating is how normal it looks at first glance, carrying the familiar Lincoln portrait and memorial reverse that millions of Americans have handled without curiosity. And it's this normality that allows something extraordinary to hide in plain sight, because no one expects history-changing value from something so common-looking. Experts often say that the most dangerous coins to ignore are not the obviously rare ones, but the ones that blend in perfectly, and the 1973 penny is a master of disguise in that sense. Every new discussion about rising metal prices, mint errors, or record-breaking auction results indirectly strengthens the case for extreme valuations, because the market has proven again and again that collectors are willing to pay unimaginable sums for singular pieces with strong stories, and this Pennies story checks every box: mystery, controversy, rarity, and the possibility of undiscovered truth. Whether the $33 million figure ultimately becomes a confirmed sale or remains a benchmark of potential, the impact is the same. It forces people to stop underestimating their spare change and start paying attention. And that shift in awareness alone is powerful enough to create new discoveries. The lesson hidden inside this coin's legend is simple but profound. History doesn't always announce itself with gold and grandeur. Sometimes it whispers through copper and patience, rewarding those who listen closely. Somewhere, perhaps right now, someone is holding a 1973 penny without realizing what it could represent, and that thought alone keeps this story alive, growing, and evolving with every passing year. So if you don't want to miss the next hidden money story, the next ordinary coin with an extraordinary secret, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next set you overlook could be the one that changes everything.